Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome into the first mock draft of the offseason. This is post-Senior Bowl, post-Matthew Stafford trade. The only disclaimer is the whole Deshaun Watson situation. That's clearly still up in the air, but I figured it would be better to leave the draft order as is because of the amount of teams calling about Watson. There's not that defined, clear-cut favor. So with that being said, let's hop right into this thing. With the first pick in this mock draft, I have the 1-15 Jacksonville Jaguars, going with Clemson quarterback. No surprise here, Trevor Lawrence. Okay, look, this is the obvious choice. I almost want to say it's a guarantee. Trevor Lawrence is arguably the greatest quarterback prospect to ever come out of college. He offers so much: size, accuracy, arm strength, leadership, the resume to back it up, mobility, pocket presence. Almost every single thing, every single trait that you look for in a quarterback, Trevor Lawrence has. If you're a 1-15 team, you're 1-15 with a question mark at the quarterback position, you struggle to put up points on the offensive side of the football, you have a brand new head coach coming in the building in Urban Meyer, this is as obvious as it gets. Trevor Lawrence to Jacksonville. With the second pick, this is where a lot of people out there are saying this is where the draft is going to start because the Jets can go in so many different directions and they can also trade the pick. But as far as this mock draft is concerned, I have the Jets going with BYU quarterback Zach Wilson. Coming in at 6'3", 210 pounds, Zach Wilson can definitely add some weight to that frame, but outside of that, man, Zach Wilson can offer so much to an NFL franchise. Okay, you want to talk about arm power, overall arm strength, it's fantastic. Accuracy, the ability to fit the ball into tight windows, checks that box. Okay, mobility, decision making, knowing where to go with the football, doesn't turn the ball over. Improv skills. So many things to work with, right? Not to mention he's a great fit for the Mike LaFleur system. Zach Wilson actually had an interview where he talked a little bit about NFL fits, where he sees himself, and the first team that he mentioned was the San Francisco 49ers because of the offensive system. It's going to be the same offensive system that's going to be installed for the Jets. The Jets are picking spot number 2. It's about as obvious as it can possibly be here. So Zach Wilson to the Jets. So with the third overall pick, we have the Miami Dolphins on the clock, and I was really deciding between two players here, and I'm sure you know exactly which two players I'm talking about, but I decided to go with wide receiver from Alabama, the Heisman Trophy winner DeVonta Smith. When I look at this Dolphins team, they proved to everybody last year that they can win games. They got double-digit wins last year. They have a great coaching staff. They have a great defense. The struggles with this team lie on the offensive side of the football. There's not much talent there. It's a youthful unit. Obviously, rookie quarterback. They had a bunch of rookies starting on the O-line. Austin Jackson, first-round pick last year. I really like Kinley as well at guard. He was a nice find as well, kind of a middle round guy, but you're looking at this team, outside of Devontae Parker, there isn't really a true weapon that this Dolphins team possesses, and I think that was one of the issues that plagued the offense last year. I feel like they need to get a little bit more explosive on the offensive side of the football, so that's why I'm opting for a wide receiver that not only just played with Tua, dominated the SEC, dominated college football, snagged 23 touchdowns last year. 23 touchdowns last year. Add that player to this Miami Dolphins team. Now all of a sudden you can get creative. You can add that juice to this Dolphins offense. It was between him or Panay Sewell, but here's the thing. I don't think you can get a wide receiver of DeVonta Smith's caliber later in the first round, in the second round, in the third round. I think you can find offensive linemen here and there, just like the Dolphins did last season. It's definitely a weak spot. You need to have you need to have time for your quarterbacks to throw and whatnot. But I feel like at this point in the draft, it's that extra pick. Nobody really thought Houston was going to have that third overall pick. Now you're in an opportunity where you can potentially draft a wide receiver 1 in DeVonta Smith. Add that juice, add that creativity, add that overall electricity to this offense. So with the fourth overall pick, I have the Atlanta Falcons going with quarterback from Ohio State, Justin Fields. Now, look, I gotta be honest, I was kind of stuck on this one for a little bit because I was thinking, okay, you have a brand new head coach, Arthur Smith, who's known for offensive play design, offensive play calls, a guy who's really good at developing players and who knows how to get out of his own way. Okay, I feel like that's exactly what Atlanta needs. You're looking at the Falcons roster, they have a lot of pieces in place. They have a lot of first round picks invested in the O-line. They have some weapons at wide receiver. They have Todd Gurley at running back. Pieces on defense. this is a win now team. This is a team right now that I feel like can easily be in wild card contention for next season. So I was thinking, okay, who's a player that can help them win right now? And then it kind of dawned on me, the answer is right in front of my face. The Falcons aren't going to have a top 5 pick with this roster, with this coaching staff in the foreseeable future. Let's go out and let's bite the bullet. Let's get a highly talented quarterback in Justin Fields, who's from the area, 6'3", 225, 230 pounds, who has a lot to work with. Okay, now we can draft Justin Fields. We can play Matt Ryan, who's 35, 36 years old, for a year. Fields has one full season to learn the offense, no pressure. He's going to be playing in a dome. Now when he does take the reins over for the Falcons offense, he has a ton of weapons to work with. A year under his belt with practices, he knows the teammates, he has the chemistry, everything will work out. So Justin Fields to the Atlanta Falcons. Next up, 5th overall, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. This one's as obvious as it gets. Penei Sewell, left tackle from Oregon. I think in a Bengals fan's perfect world, Penei Sewell falls to Cincinnati. We all know the struggles that offensive line has. We know it doesn't have a lot of talent. I like Jonah Williams, but he's dealt with some injuries. This drafting Penei Sewell gives the Bengals a left tackle, a future left tackle. Now you can take Jonah Williams, you can plug him in at right tackle. Sewell is aggressive. He works really well in the run game. He really wants to impose his will on defenders. I think that's what the Bengals need in the trenches, at least on the offensive side of the football. You have wide receivers. I've seen a lot of people mock Jamar Chase to the Bengals, actually. It's at that 5th overall spot, and it makes sense, right? Question marks with AJ Green. We've seen what Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow can do together. They dominated the SEC in that magical season, but I think right now the bigger need is left tackle. The best one in the class falls to you at spot number 5. Joe Burrow, you need to protect him. He's the franchise guy. He's coming off of an injury. You're looking at the wide receivers. Yeah, you don't know what's happening with AJ Green, but I love Tyler Boyd and I love T. Higgins. I think the O-line is the bigger need. Penei Sewell to the Bengals. Next up, 6th overall pick, Philadelphia Eagles. They get an absolute godsend. Jamar Chase, wide receiver, LSU. This would be huge. It would be absolutely humongous for the Eagles right now. You're looking at that wide receiver unit. It's desolate. There's not that much talent there. I think Jamar Chase right now, if the Eagles pick up the phone and draft Jamar Chase right now, he's the number 1 on the team. Number 1 go-to guy on the team. You have a new offensive-minded head coach coming over from Indianapolis. I don't really think the transition for Carson Wentz in that offense is going to be huge, but I think everything will be simplified as far as offensive schematics are concerned. So let's not overthink it. Let's go with the best player on the board, who just so happens to be at a huge position of need, Jamar Chase to the Philadelphia Eagles. Next up, 7th overall, we have the Detroit Lions on the clock, and I cannot wait to see what the Lions do. You have a brand new front office, Brad Holmes coming over from LA. You have a brand new coaching staff, Dan Campbell coming over from the Saints. You have a lot of different guys coming in the building. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator. Anthony Lynn, offensive coordinator. Deuce Staley coming from Philly. I cannot wait to see what the Lions do. But in this scenario, I have the Lions going with wide receiver from Alabama, Jalen Waddle. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't know if I can think of a more exciting player in college football than Jalen Waddle. The stuff that this guy does with the football in his hands, it's absolutely incredible, and I feel like that is exactly what the Detroit Lions need. They need to get younger. They need to get more explosive. They need a playmaker on the offensive side of the football. I love Kenny Golladay, but let's face it, he might leave. And there's a good chance of Golladay leaving in free agency. Danny Amendola, old, not really too reliable. He's not a number 1 guy. He's a slot guy. Marvin Jones, I believe, number 1, he's up there in age. He's not a number 1 wide receiver, and I think he's going to be leaving in free agency. I think you look at what Jalen Waddle can do within the Anthony Lynn offense and how Jared Goff likes to play. Jared Goff, assuming he's going to be the starting quarterback, he's a guy who excels at getting the football out of his hands quickly. That's where Waddle's at his best. So I think this makes a lot of sense for not only just scheme fit, he can help out the quarterback. He's young, he helps out on special teams as well. He gives the Lions some pop on offense, and that I feel like is what Detroit lacks. So Waddle to the Lions. So next up with the 8th overall pick, we have the Carolina Panthers. And look, this could be a Deshaun Watson landing spot, but as of right now, we don't know. So with that being said, it's going to be quarterback from North Dakota State, Trey Lance. You're looking at what Trey Lance brings to the table. He is the prototypical guy. He's played under center. He has a big body. He has a huge arm, and he's mobile. You watch Trey Lance run, it's almost like a carbon copy of Colin Kaepernick. Just a massive human being with incredible speed, very, very difficult to bring down. He's not like an elusive guy like Kyler Murray, but he will lower his shoulder and truck over a linebacker. He can make cornerbacks and safeties. He can humiliate secondary members. He has that ability to command and to lead an NFL offense. He can stretch the football down the field. All right, you're looking at what Carolina is right now. This is a young team. It's up and coming. Great coaching staff. Matt Rule, I love him. Joe Brady, he's sticking around in Carolina. Let's go. You have a lot of young pieces to build around on the defensive side of the football, right? A lot of rookies were playing last year. Offensively, you have your running back in place, Christian McCaffrey. Overall, your weapons are great. Robbie Anderson, ex-Jet, DJ Moore, great. You might lose Curtis Samuel, but that's okay. Teddy Bridgewater, feels weird calling him a veteran quarterback because I feel like he was just drafted the other day, but all in all, Bridgewater, he's not the long-term franchise guy that's going to be there for the next 10 years. He's not. I love him. I love Bridgewater, but he's not. I think Trey Lance, inserting Lance into the backup role for Carolina. Remember, I think it was 2 more years left on Bridgewater's deal. You can play Bridgewater for 1 more season or half a year, and then insert Trey Lance into this lineup with some seasoning. He can learn the NFL game, has time, just like the Justin Fields situation as well, where he has time on the bench, learning the offense, no pressure. Eventually, he's going to be in the lineup, but as of right now, it's Bridgewater's team. Players like Bridgewater, so overall, I think it makes a lot of sense. Next up, 9th overall, we have the Denver Broncos on the clock, and this is a team right now that can go in a bunch of different ways. They can go O-line, they can go corner. But I have the Broncos going Micah Parsons, all right, linebacker from Penn State. When you're looking at Parsons on the field, it's absolutely tremendous. Micah Parsons is an absolute beast, and he's a perfect fit for the Vic Fangio system. I think Denver right now needs playmakers. I don't really consider Denver this rebuilding up-and-coming team. They have a lot of young pieces on the offensive side of the football. Again, this is another landing spot for Deshaun Watson, so we'll see. But as of right now, man, they have enough pieces on offense to get the job done. I think Vic Fangio, a guy who could be on his last leg, could say to he's pounding on the table saying, get me a playmaker right now that fits my system, that can pick it up and can be an impact guy. We have Von Miller coming back from injury, so we don't really know how good Miller will look if they even keep him, because he is a huge cap hit. I would assume that they do keep him because Fangio wants to keep his job. But when you're just looking at system fit, Parsons makes a lot of sense. There has been some question marks that have recently popped up with Parsons' off the field personality, immaturity and stuff like that. So it's something to keep your eye on. But as of right now, February 1st, I think Parsons to the Broncos makes a lot of sense. Next up, the 10th overall pick, we have the Dallas Cowboys. This is, again, another team that could be going O-line here. Rashawn Slater, maybe. I don't know. I'm going Patrick Surtain, a safe bet at corner, a guy who was highly productive at Alabama, really did a nice job of shutting down opposing wide receivers. He has great size. He has great speed. I think the only thing that makes you pause with Patrick Surtain is his fit in the Dan Quinn system. I think Farley from Virginia Tech makes more sense from a schematic point of view for that system because of his ability to play in zone. But Surtain, I think, is more of a one-on-one corner. But if you're Dallas, you have the playmakers on offense. You have a quarterback in Dak Prescott, assuming they bring him back. Their linebacking core is okay. They could get a little younger, but it's solid. Defensive line, maybe. But I feel like the secondary, that's the weak spot of this team. I like Jordan Lewis a lot. Loved him at Michigan. But Patrick Surtain at spot number 10, if you can get arguably the best cornerback in the draft with the 10th overall pick coming from Alabama, I think Dallas might bite the bullet, all right? You need to get Dan Quinn some help on the defensive side of the ball. Patrick Surtain to the Dallas Cowboys. Next up, 11th overall, we have the New York Giants on the clock, and one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player in the draft, is still on the board, but not for long. Kyle Pitts, tight end / wide receiver or pass-catching hybrid playmaker from the Florida Gators, okay? He's going to the Giants. I'm absolutely stunned that Kyle Pitts is not being talked about as a top 7 pick. He is unbelievable. What he did for the Florida Gators this past season, almost indescribable. Matchup nightmare. Unguardable. You can play him in from the slot. You can play him on the outside. You can line him up as a true tight end. He is the ultimate offensive weapon here. I really thought about giving him to Detroit, and I think he can be a player there, or be in consideration there. But in this mock, I have Pitts falling to the Giants. He's definitely an upgrade over Evan Ingram in my opinion. But here's the cool thing: you can play both of them. You can put them both on the field at the same time. Pitts is just that matchup nightmare in a division that's completely wide open with a quarterback that needs some offensive help. You need a playmaker on offense. Go get a guy who can come down with 50-50 balls. He can truly box out corners. He literally dominated everybody he played against. I think Pitts will be a huge acquisition for this Jason Garrett-led offense, and he's going to help out Daniel Jones a lot. Next up, spot number 12, we have the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going Caleb Farley, cornerback from Virginia Tech. All right, 6'2", 205, 210. I personally think Farley is a better zone coverage corner, and that's what San Francisco will be running, okay? You're also looking at the 49ers roster on defense. I feel like the entire cornerback room is, all of those guys are like upcoming free agents. Like literally all of them, with Witherspoon and Sherman and Jason Verrett. I feel like the 49ers have their work cut out for them as free agency approaches. They're going to have to figure out a lot of things. Plus, you're in that division, a division that throws the football a lot with Russell Wilson in Seattle, Kyler Murray in Arizona. Now we're adding Matthew Stafford to the Rams. We gotta lock down the secondary. Farley to the Niners. Next up, spot number 13, we have the LA Chargers on the board, and this is a team right now. They have a lot of positions figured out. You have a brand new head coach coming in the building, franchise quarterback Justin Herbert, but there's a huge question mark with the tackle position. Rashawn Slater, tackle from Northwestern, is the pick here. I honestly think this is one of those moves where the Chargers are just kind of lucking into it. There's a lot of talk about Slater kind of being that draft day riser, potentially him going top 10. I know Daniel Jeremiah is really high on Slater, but as far as this mock is concerned, I personally don't see Slater as that top 10 guy, so I have him going 13 to the Chargers, just stepping in and filling a huge position of need. Next up, spot number 14, Minnesota Vikings are on the clock. Edge rusher, Gregory Rousseau. Being from Florida, I've seen a lot of Rousseau football, and let me tell you, so exciting to watch. So much potential. He has speed, he has power, he has production. Not to mention he's also 6'7". All right, this guy has Mike Zimmer written all over him. We saw the Vikings put that emphasis on the pass rusher position. It didn't really work out with Yannick Ngakoue. Now we're getting a similar style of player with a higher upside that you don't have to pay. Greg Rousseau, there's a huge argument that's currently being made that if Rousseau didn't sit out this season and his name was still, talked about, and he had production this year as well, he would be a top 5 pick. But in this case, I have him falling to spot 14, Rousseau to the Vikings. Pick number 15, we have the New England Patriots. This one's easy. I'm going Paye, defensive end out of Michigan, one of my favorite players in the draft. I think he's a perfect fit for what Belichick wants to do on the defensive side of the trenches. You're looking at that unit already. You have 2 players that are set to hit the open market. I don't know if the Pats are going to bring them back. Paye has a really high upside. I feel like he just needs some refinement. He's not really like the Yannick Ngakoue, Khalil Mack, like burner off the edge. He's more of a Trey Flowers type of D end. I feel like that's kind of where he projects. And Trey Flowers obviously dominated in New England. I think if you match Paye up with Belichick, you're going to have a serious tandem. Paye to the Pats. 16th overall, we have the Arizona Cardinals selecting cornerback from South Carolina, J.C. Horn. I think Horn's a guy right now that can step into Arizona's defensive system and then start immediately, right? He can easily go in there and hold his own one-on-one matchups. You're looking at that division. Again, Russell Wilson throws the ball a lot. Matthew Stafford now going to the Rams, they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. You have to try to neutralize opposing offenses some way, somehow. We all know Arizona's built off offensive football, the quick passing, Kyler Murray running around, Cliff Kingsbury. I think J.C. Horn's a solid pick. It's also a safe pick. I don't know how great Horn is going to be as far as his potential to become a Jalen Ramsey, a Darrelle Revis, a Marcus Peters, something like that. But I think he can step in and be a solid number 2 corner for the Cardinals right away. Pick number 17, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going Christian Barmore, defensive tackle out of Alabama. I think right now you're looking at the Raiders defense. They need talent. They need high ceiling guys. They need power. They need guys that can produce. I think Barmore checks all of those boxes. I think Barmore right now, you could take him, you can immediately put him in the defensive line and let him work on the interior. And he's a guy who's going to hold his own. He's going to really just clog holes up and kind of be that anchor of the defensive line. The Raiders, They have issues on the defense, right? Like, that's a fact. But the good news is that they have a lot of young players and they're all growing at the same time. Add another one to the list. There's a couple question marks at wide receiver for Vegas, but all in all, I think Barmore at this point in the draft is worth more at 17. Spot number 18, we have the Miami Dolphins back on the clock. I have them selecting guard/tackle from USC, Elijah Vera-Tucker. Okay, you're looking at this offensive line. It's really starting to fill out. Young players, high upsides. We talked about Austin Jackson being a first-round pick last year. We already addressed wide receiver earlier in the draft, getting to his ex-teammate, Heisman Trophy winner Devontae Smith. Now we're going back to the offensive side of the football and adding a tackle with a high upside. All right. A versatile player here that you can maybe play at guard too if he's not ready to take that next step as tackle at the pro level. So versatile piece. You're looking at what Miami's game plan should be heading into the draft, and if they're going to be rolling the dice with Tua, the number one goal, the plan of attack, should be to make Tua's job as easy as possible. Next up, spot number 19, we have the Washington football team selecting one of my favorite players in the draft, linebacker from Notre Dame, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. All right, versatile, fast, speed, built for today's league. You're looking at the football team's defense right now. They have edge rushers. They have just an incredible defensive line as a whole. They have a couple pieces in the secondary, right? Guys that are formidable players. Ronald Darby's nice. Like, I like Washington's defense a lot, but I think the weak spot of the team, or the defense rather, is the linebacker position. Now we can go handpick a guy out of Notre Dame, in my opinion, one of, if not the best linebacker in the class. I think he's a great fit for the system in that 4-3 as well, that Ron Rivera likes to run, Jack Del Rio. I think Del Rio and Ron Rivera's development with resume developing the linebacker position in the past is key. I think this would be a slam dunk pick for Washington. Pick number 20, we have the Chicago Bears, and this one was, I gotta be honest, this one was tough. I just don't really know where Matt Nagy, where Ryan Pace, where their heads are at right now as it pertains to the draft. So I went with a safe pick. All right, Christian Darrisaw, tackle from Virginia Tech, 6'5", really safe, polished player. I think right now he could come in and just start at right tackle. The Bears have had some offensive line trouble. There's really not a quarterback worth taking with the 20th overall pick. It's kind of no man's land unless they want to go for a guy like Mac Jones, who's been shooting up boards. But for me personally, I think if I was running Chicago, Mac Jones isn't the answer in Chicago long term. And if I don't view a guy as that answer, then I'm not picking him in the first round. So I'm going to go with the safe player in Darrisaw and continue to build this offensive line and move forward. Pick number 21 for the Colts, I'm going Sam Cosmi, tackle out of Texas. Now, I get it. Cosmi's not the highest guy on people's boards, but I feel like as the draft inches closer, he will start to rise up boards. There was a huge question mark about him declaring for the draft because he's kind of a raw prospect. But, I mean, he played early at Texas. He really won over his coaches. He won over his players. His size is tremendous. With the recent retirement of, I believe it was Costanzo, at left tackle, I think Cosmi could be in play here, or a tackle could be in play. I guess you could argue the Mac Jones thing, but again, I just don't know if the Colts want to, hand over a double-digit win team to arguably the 5th best quarterback in this class. So I think Cosmi here, he kind of reminds me of Mekhi Becton, not of how he plays or anything like that, but just his size and kind of what people were talking about him throughout the draft process. Like, he is really good size. If he puts it all together, he's going to be great, but he's just too raw right now. I think there's a lot of similarities there. Pick number 22, we got the Tennessee Titans on the clock. I'm selecting Jalen Phillips. This is a guy right now, he's getting a lot of draft buzz. People are talking a lot about him. Obviously popped onto the scene with Miami this past season. It was really a treat to watch. Really, he finally came into his own. He blossomed as that player, or as the player that UCLA kind of expected him to be. He was great. He was great this year. Really, really fast off the edge. And I look at the Titans right now. Jadeveon Clowney couldn't really get the job done. Vic Beasley couldn't really get the job done. I like Harold Landry a lot, but I feel like there's a major issue with pass rushing in Tennessee. So Phillips to the Titans. Next up, the New York Jets have their second first-round pick, originally owned by the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going Wyatt Davis, guard from Ohio State. I get that it's not the sexy pick. I get that taking an offensive lineman isn't really it's not a fun thing to talk about. But when you're looking at Mike LaFleur's offense, when you're looking at what the Jets currently have on the interior of the offensive line, it's a necessity that the Jets have to get better. It's a necessity. We cannot roll out the same unit and expect the offense to roll. Mekhi Becton is dominant. George Fant, I love him. But the interior, it needs work. Wyatt Davis is a plug-and-play style of player. He projects really, really well as a guard, high upside, tough, a lot of production with Ohio State, especially in the run game. I love pairing him up next to Mekhi Becton. Now we can take a guy like Pat Elflein, move him to right guard. Whatever the Jets want to do, Wyatt Davis perfectly fits that system. I think he would be a massive upgrade. Pick number 24, Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going Zaven Collins, a highly productive linebacker out of Tulsa. I think he's a great fit for the system. I think when you're looking at depth for that position for Pittsburgh, it's definitely lacking. I think he, again, plug and play style of player. The minute you draft him, he's a starter on your team. He can cover the flats really, really well. He's really good in coverage. He's built for today's game. Again, you're looking at that division. Bengals, they throw the football a lot. The Ravens, they don't really throw the football a lot, but you need speed on defense to kind of counter the Ravens' running attack. And then the Browns are kind of a mixed bag, but all in all, you have 3 solid offenses in that division. You need to get faster. You need to get more talented on the defensive side of the ball. I like a lot of pieces. Minka is a beast. TJ Watt. There is a question mark that they might not bring Bud Dupree back. So if they don't, Zaven Collins fits in beautifully here. He also has some pass rushing skills as well. Pick number 25, the Jags are back on the clock. They're another team with like the Jets and the Dolphins that have multiple first-round picks. I'm going Javon Holland, safety from Oregon. All right. A guy who has extreme speed, really athletic, a guy that every single Oregon defensive player kind of relies on in the back end to make plays down the field. I look at the Jaguars secondary right now, and it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. You need to get a staple back there with having 2 first-round picks, so that back one kind of becomes expendable. Now you can really just target a position of need, and in my opinion, you're getting the best safety in the class in Holland. I think he would be a great fit down in Jacksonville. Comes in, starts right away for a brand new coaching staff, brand new defensive coordinator. I think he makes a lot of sense. He's a blue chip style of player as well that Jacksonville can really rely on in the back end. Pick number 26, we got the Cleveland Browns coming off of a playoff appearance. I was really pumped up for them. I was pumped up for the fans, but we all know the weak spot on this team. So with that being said, I have the Browns going linebacker Nick Bolton out of Missouri. The defense is the issue here, but more specifically, it's the linebacking core. I think they need to get younger. I think they need to get faster. Bolton was the alpha for the Tigers defense last season. A thumping linebacker. I feel like that's what Cleveland needs here. I think you have some playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Myles Garrett's an absolute beast, but I think Bolton is a nice guy who can kind of slide in there and really get a lot of production and kind of be an unsung hero. Almost, he can be like the glue that holds the entire defense together. Again, Missouri, they put a lot on his plate last year, and he answered the bell with every single game, right? He was the guy in Missouri. Bolton to the Browns. Pick number 27, the Baltimore Ravens. Rashad Bateman, wide receiver from Minnesota, 6'2". He's a perfect fit. He's exactly what the Ravens need. They need an outside threat who can create separation and win one-on-one matchups. They have a deep threat in Marquise Brown. They can run the ball. They have running backs. Lamar Jackson, crazy playmaker. They have a solid offensive line. There is maybe a hole or two on defense that you can address, but I feel like at this point in the draft, number 1 priority is wide receiver. Rashad Bateman's on the board. He's exactly what they need. Bateman to the Ravens. Pick number 28, we have the New Orleans Saints on the board. Back-to-back wide receivers here, Rondale Moore. All right, yes, Moore will continue to wear black and gold throughout his NFL career. I feel like Moore is the exact player that Sean Payton has always been searching for. He's been wanting a player of Moore's caliber for a long time, but he's never really been in a position to draft one or sign one or trade for one, but now he is. You can now use Rondale Moore almost like how the Chiefs used Tyreek Hill. Really electrifying player. Really lit up the Big Ten as well. I think Sean Payton kind of has his eye on his guy, and I think he can contribute day one. Next up, pick number 29, Green Bay Packers. they're going to be selecting a player that can help them right now. Not like last year with Jordan Love. Right now, Kadarius Toney, wide receiver from UF, a guy who he's been skyrocketing up draft boards. People are now, at one point in time, he was a mid-second round guy, kind of early second round, but I want to say right now he's almost a lock to go round 1. 6 foot, can separate, really productive at UF in that wide open Dan Mullen system. Kind of overshadowed by Kyle Pitts to a certain degree, but still nonetheless a fantastic playmaker. I really feel like the Gators relied on him a lot to make that play, like make the play of the game, and he did that. I feel like that's what Green Bay needs. Aaron Rodgers needs somebody else outside of Devontae Adams to make plays downfield. I like Lazard, I like Scantling, but I feel like Toney's just a different breed. He can play in the slot. You can toss him a screen. You can run an end around, run those reverses with Toney, and he now adds that extra layer, that extra dimension to the Packers offense. Pick number 30, the Buffalo Bills. And this one's actually kind of funny because I reached out to a lot of Bills fans to kind of gauge their interest level with this pick. What could possibly happen? What do they want? And they all pretty much said the same thing, like number 2 corner, a consistent pass rusher off the edge, because Epinesa is still kind of developing. This is also a draft pick too, where I could see the Bills trading out of it, maybe like for a JJ Watt or something like that if he ends up leaving Houston. But I think with this pick, I just wanted to throw a curveball in there. I'm going to go Travis Etienne, running back from Clemson. When I look at the Bills' running back core or stable, it's really good. I like Singletary, FAU. I love Zach Moss, Utah. Great running backs. But the Bills just, I feel like if you take the best running back in the class in Travis Etienne and you insert him into that Bills offense, you are now talking about a team that almost they're equivalent to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that just adds that extra juice to that Bills offense. Just a curveball. I think Etienne in Buffalo would be really electrifying for the Bills fans. So picks number 31 and 32 are interchangeable because we don't really know who's going to win the Super Bowl as of right now. So I just put the Bucs in at 31. It doesn't really matter though because it won't impact the Chiefs pick at all. So I have the Bucs going Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones has a lot of qualities that Bruce Arians is looking for. The Bucs don't have a long-term quarterback option on the roster. We don't know how long Tom Brady's going to be playing for. So if you could get a smart individual like Mac Jones into the building, a guy who's accurate, a big body quarterback who can push the ball downfield, I feel like he has a lot of those Bruce Arians traits, right? Just the bigger quarterbacks like Luck and Roethlisberger and Manning. Now you can just stash him behind Tom Brady for at least one more season. So Mac Jones to the Bucs. And then for pick number 32, we have the Kansas City Chiefs going Carlos Basham, edge rusher from Wake Forest, a guy who's really good against the run, but has developed with rushing the passer. I feel like with the Chiefs right now, they have so many things figured out. They were in the Super Bowl last year. They're in the Super Bowl this season. I feel like the most important thing for Kansas City right now is just to stockpile talent. That's the beauty of being such a great team, is that you can just simply go with best player available. And there's a lot of people saying that, hey, Carlos Basham can go like, mid-20s. So that's the mock. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I hope you liked it. And I just want to say thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for sticking with this long video, and thanks so much for sticking with this channel. And as always, go Jets.